Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Money in the Law, My FM 101.3. This is your show called Money in the Law with your host, Jay Marston. He's from the Marston Law Group. I'm John Drohan. This is brought to you via...
Oh my God, look who's
that
back.
guy?
Look who's back.
Who's that
Look
guy?
Who's back. Oh
hey,
my
that's
God.
Ray. That's right.
Oh.
Gonna need him.
It's almost like
him.
it's almost like when you see Santa Claus sneaking across the room.
I almost kissed him. As I was saying, Money in Law is brought to you visually on the Holliston Hub by none other than Tom Harmon, the executive producer, and the third leg of the Money in the Law stool.
I love it. I love it.
So Money in the Law, we talk about things that have to do with money, and have to do with investing and finance and saving and debt. And we also talk about the law. We talk about kind of how you build your estate plan to kind of put it in, to or if you're older, how to kind of make sure that you have all your ducks in a row to make sure that when you're
all the pieces arranged.
Right, as things are as you're sailing off into that sunset, into the horizon.
That's right.
That all you have peace of mind. At the end of the day,
that the compass is pointed in the right direction.
At the end of the day, our job, and we've said it 1,000 times, our job is to make people happy, and that will make you happy. If I know that everything's all set and all my life's work is
protected, all wrapped up, buttoned up, ready to be handed off to the next generation,
then my work here is done. And that's what we do. We get you from point A to point Z.
Nice. And all the ports along the way.
And everything in between.
That's right.
And everything in between. All right, so speaking of ports, how are you doing? It seems like as I was coming in here, someone may have visited a port recently.
Actually, we were surrounded by water. We were surrounded by the ocean recently.
I love these stories. I love these stories. Of course, these are the Key West stories. So, without further ado,
for those of you who are new to the Key West stories, we popped down to the southern climes, the little latitudes, as they say, where the weather suits my clothes, and we were just hanging out. We were running and gunning down there. Key West, this is a quiet time of the year for them, tourist-wise, because you're in the middle of hurricane season, as everybody is well aware. Given the last couple of weeks, we've had some crazy weather, but most of that weather has been directed at the mid portion of Florida. We're a little further south,
which is just another virtue of dumb luck.
Oh really. My gosh, it's Well, there's one. There's not. Of course, the minute one's over, then there's always another one forming up for the next month or so. So we were down there running around, and I think before the show started, I was telling you that a somewhat famous musical individual was rumored to be running and gunning.
I was not down there.
Around.
I didn't know. You didn't
go?
You didn't mention. I should have told you that I'm not going to be there this weekend because we had some other commitments. Yeah.
So we were sitting in a dining establishment, partaking in some of their savoir faire, and somebody mentioned something about Kenny Chesney, and so I said to the bartender, I said, "Is he here?" And she said, "Nope, he was here for lunch, but there were too many people, so they cleared out." And but he is on the island, and so proceed with caution.
Yeah.
And so we kind of kept an eye open, kind of looked around as best we could to see if we heard anything that remotely sounded like a Kenny Chesney impersonator, because those guys are known to pop into a local establishment and break out in song, and it's been one of my lifelong goals to be kind of where the right place and the right time come together perfectly. And it just hasn't happened yet. I just keep hoping against hope, but I keep hoping to see.
It's so funny because that's not the story that I heard when I walked in, because that was a very well detailed, very well thought out, and the story I heard was, I was down in Key West and I was pounding Coronas, just waiting, looking for Kenny Chesney, and I couldn't find him. And my job was, I'm going to drink as many Coronas as I can until I find him.
That's another version. That's another version. Different audience. Different audience. You got to know the room. Got to tailor your message. Tailor your message. But we did not find him. So
that's unfortunate. It's not the end of the world. You do have Spotify. You can always kind of listen.
Yes, we can. But it is kind of a right place, right thing, because it's one of those like. It's not like 100 years ago, right? Word goes out. It doesn't take long, right? As soon as it's out, you see people start moving in a direction. You see crowds forming up. All of a sudden, if you're not at the tip of the spear, you're going to get shut out.
Well, that's the thing, right? And you can only imagine that, and you wonder, you know, I imagine that there are times when he's kind of ready for it.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
that he's like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I know that, you know, I kind of know what happens when like you said, when the rumors gets out that
Yeah.
that I'm here.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's times when he's like, you know what, I really am not up for that today. However,
not in the mood.
I'm still Kenny Chesney.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I
That's right.
still can play any, you know, musical instrument that I want to, and probably, you know, perform at any given time, right?
Yep,
He's
yep.
got, I mean, he probably, you know, people at that level, he's probably got a few in the bucket that he could,
He's got a couple in the chamber that
Yeah.
if he needs to pull out, he can
Yeah.
definitely get it done.
right?
So,
Yep, I can do 2 or 3. So
Yep.
anybody just may not be up for, which, you know what, and people like us, you know, we're like, wow, wouldn't that be great if
just
that was me?
to pick it up and be like, you know what, I could fill a 30-song set, just no questions asked.
I was thinking 3 songs.
Yeah,
That
no,
was it.
those guys, that's
Yeah.
what's amazing. I could fill a 30-song set, no questions asked.
Yeah, those
That's
two.
amazing to me.
All right.
That's amazing to me.
So, so that's an exciting story.
Yes.
And unfortunate, but you know what? At least you got to be down there.
Yep.
You got some sun,
Yep.
right? Look
Oh
at
yeah,
you.
golden right up.
Yep.
Yeah, you know me. That's it. That's exactly what happens. Yep.
Tommy, and you're doing well, I assume. Tommy's doing well. And one of the things we had mentioned earlier is that Tom is, like, as we said, the third leg of the
Yes.
triumvirate of the Money in the Law stool. So just for the record, this is it. That, like, Tom is part of Money in the Law.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
and
Yes,
we've
always,
had-
yeah.
And now we say that, like, if one of us isn't going to be here, and that's been the rule all the way through. If one of us isn't there,
All for
and
one, one
you
for
and
all.
I, yeah,
Yeah.
and for you and I, it's like, we've never. Neither of us have ever done the show solo.
No.
Or,
No.
God forbid, with someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
Good
Perish
Lord.
the thought.
Yeah, I
Perish
know.
the thought.
So,
often threatened. Often threatened.
So kind of in the recent years since Tom's kind of anchored in here, that if Tom's not here, we don't do it either.
That's
You know?
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Because we've kind of realized that it kind of has to be on TV. The radio's great. But it kind
Well,
of
once they baited us with the TV thing, then it was like hook, set. Let me just pull this.
Right.
Let me just pull this fish into the boat. That's all I got to do.
Yeah,
Yep.
right? Because we Money in the Law. I mean, people listen to it on the Saturday mornings, and that's our main crowd. But sometimes, if you want to tell somebody about it, like, well, let me send you the YouTube link.
Oh
here.
God, yeah. Let me lock you in on that.
And then
Yep.
people say, "Wow, you
And
guys
you're
look
just
so much
transfixed.
older
It's
than
the
you
rabbit hole.
sound."
You're down that Money in the Law rabbit hole. You'll never get out. You'll never get out.
That was the other thing I noticed is our poster, which is I think 12 years old,
Yeah.
is down because they're doing some painting, some rehab in the building, and I look at that poster and I think, well, that's what we look like, and then I'm
We
like,
hang that in my office.
Then I look over here and no, it's not exactly that, not exactly. All right,
All right, so you were writing stuff down.
I know what
before
I'm.
you
Yeah,
first came in.
I
What are you
got it. I
writing
was
down?
thinking
You'll-
about this. I woke
All right.
up this morning and I said, "This is what we need to talk about
Got it.
because of the day, right? So today is we're in the middle of October, right?
Love it.
Middle of October. So is anybody? I mean, what's coming up? The holidays, right? The
Sure.
holidays are
Yeah.
coming,
Yeah.
but they're not here, right?
Right.
There's some gap in between. The weather isn't awful. The weather's actually pretty
It's
good.
October
right?
in New England. Yep.
So and it's fall, it's autumn, and because of the lack of water and the heat, the leaf season's kind of extended a little
Sure,
bit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
things are still a little green out there.
Yes,
Just
yep,
starting to change.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really nice. But what you're not thinking about is you're not thinking about year end, right?
Yeah.
You're not thinking about it. But imagine if you were.
Well, here's where you were. You would be thinking about it if you were tending to a calendar every day, because on the ride over here, I was talking to the office and they were like, we're already almost into November.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, next week is going to be
I
November.
love it when people explain to me the calendar. My wife does it all the time. Do you realize today is the last day in the 3rd week of October? And you're like, yep.
Which
I know.
calendar are we on?
Yeah, I know.
Gregorian? We on the Gregorian calendar?
I know how that.
Yeah.
Right, I get
Yeah.
it. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a super genius, but I understand the calendar.
I understand. I'm somewhat familiar with the
Yeah.
passage of time.
And I know how many, because I memorized that little limerick. I know how many days are in each month. But
Yep.
I know that for a fact.
And
right?
I know October ends with the 31 because it's kind of a big day.
Yeah,
It's kind of a big day.
I know
Yep.
that's
Yep.
that's a circled
That's
one
a
on
thing.
the
That's a
calendar,
thing.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
30,
right. Yep.
So, like you said, like we're at this point where, it's the year end's not there, but it's coming.
Well, we've talked about this 100 times on the show. Almost once a
Now
year. it would-
101.
Almost once a year, it would seem, right? But yes, not only is it coming, but you're going to get big blocks of time where you are going to be just completely distracted by something else. So while it seems like, you've got 2.5 months, if you will, till you get to the finish line, you're going to lose, I don't know, 2 weeks, maybe more, sitting around, eating, drinking, watching football, talking to family, fighting with family.
Last year, I was distracted by those things. I was also distracted by a week in the hospital, right?
Yes.
And then, right,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
you don't know what's coming, right?
Right.
And then we were distracted by that thing called COVID.
Yes.
Remember that, right?
Yes.
Where everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, by the time the fall rolls around, we're going to be well through this. And you and I are like,
No, we're
looking
not.
at each other
Yeah.
on
No, we're
on
not.
Zoom, right?
Yep. So I agree with you. It's here, and I'm just saying that it picks up some momentum.
But this is the gift. This is the gift that we're giving you now because we've, as Jay said, we've talked about this, kind of the get ready for the year.
Yes.
But now we're giving it to you early.
Yes.
We're giving it to you at the right time.
Yes.
So finally, we're
Time to do something.
Do it.
And not be rushed and not be freaking out.
and you're going to do it, and you know what's going to happen? You're going to get it done.
Yep.
You're going to get it done this year.
Yep.
You're going to say, you know what? Instead of just kind of like, knee jerk, I got to donate some money to charity because
Because I gotta.
then I can deduct it, right?
Right,
Because
right.
But now it's like, okay, who do I want to donate money to?
Let's
'Cause
do
there's a
things in a
big-
more thoughtful, intentional way.
right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
and I
yes.
could say, look, oh, you know what? I can, as opposed to this, like, having to do that with, 17 other things that I have to. So right now, there's not a whole lot to do. There's not a whole lot of like pressing things that are pushed up
No,
against
but there's a couple of things
against the clock.
to pay attention to. Yeah.
Now's the time to do them.
Yep.
So that's what I was making my checklist today. We're gonna go
Checking it
through
twice,
Yep.
yep,
We're gonna
yep.
go through the year-end checklist, but we're starting it a little bit early.
That's good.
A
That's
little
good.
bit early.
That's
and
good.
So you can and who knows? Sometimes things change or don't work out the way. But at least now you're kind of like Jay said, you can put some thought into it.
Well, put some thought into it, and then let's put an end to it. Let's put a backstop to it. Let's try to have this done
What?
by Thanksgiving.
Stop it.
Let's go into December
Oh, my God.
with all of these things
Can you imagine?
done.
Right?
Boxes checked, so you can just enjoy the last month of the year. Let's do it
That's-
that way.
I mean,
That gives everybody 6
that's-
weeks.
I'm just trying to catch my breath.
I know.
Yeah.
Understandable.
All right,
I know.
so, we're
you know
gonna
what a
talk-
planner I am.
Yes, that is what I've known about you for many years. All right, so we're gonna go through your end of year checklist. We're gonna start giving you the things to start taking care of now. With Jay's put the hard stop
First,
the
right here.
deadline. Yep.
You're hearing your year-end
Right there.
checklist
Yep.
first here.
So that Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, we'll look at the date on the calendar
Yep.
when I can pull my phone. All
You
right, so-
can brag to everybody at Thanksgiving dinner.
Thank
Is
you.
everybody
Good
done?
night.
Is
Right?
everybody done?
Yeah.
Guys,
know what I'm doing?
under your chairs is an envelope because I'm way ahead of it this year.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna take
We'll
a
be
quick
back.
break. We'll come right back.
And we're back, My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group, John Drohan, Manafra Financial. Tom is on the bag for us today, and we are talking about, this is it, you're hearing it first right now, getting in front of your year-end planning by Thanksgiving. All of it's done. All of it's done. What's the first big year-end? By the way, talking to a guy who just filed his taxes, by the way, on extension. Got that
There's
done.
that guy.
There's that guy, right? There's that guy. First big year-end thing that's got to happen if it hasn't already happened. Is it on your list? I'm going to let you drive the bus.
Well, I mean,
today.
you're asking me what's
I'm
on
asking,
my list.
I'm asking,
All right.
I'm
Well,
asking.
let me try and guess what the big one is.
Go ahead.
What your big one is.
Go ahead,
So,
go ahead.
So this is kind of there's several of them that have that 31 December like kind of cutoff. So one of them, and I would probably put this one at kind of the top of the list just because there's some there's some penalties if you don't do it correctly. So. And they could be substantial, and they could be like, why didn't I do that? And you kind of kick yourself. So the first one I would say is your required minimum distribution.
Whoa,
Are we on the same?
Whoa,
What?
yes, we are.
Wow.
Yes, we are.
What do
We
you know?
studied for the exam.
What do you know?
Yep.
All right. So for just to quickly review, the required minimum distribution is if you are of age and where you are, and now the age limit is 73, right?
Well, and let's talk about that because for the longest time,
Yes, this is a little confusing.
it was 70. It was raw. It was like carved in stone.
It was 70 and a half. It was
That's
the
right.
year you
That's
turned
right.
70 and a half.
And you had until the year after the year you turn 70, you have to take the distribution.
Yeah, so
it was weird.
So this is of your qualified money. So if you're no longer working, right, and you have a 401k,
Yep.
right? If you're no longer working, now if you're still working, then you get you're allowed to not have to take your required minimum distribution.
Correct.
As long as you're still working. So if you have a 401k, and these are when we talk about qualified things, we're talking about retirement
It's like
accounts.
retirement money. Yep.
Yep. So your employer-sponsored plan or / your 401k, which is most people have, or you have an IRA, an
That
IRA
used to be your
rollover.
retirement money at
Yep.
work. Yep.
And,
yep.
and this is traditional IRA, not Roth. So
Yep.
Roth is a different
Forget
animal.
Roth. Different
so right
show.
now we're talking about traditional 401k or a traditional IRA or an IRA rollover. And the rule is that once you reach that age, the required minimum distribution age, when you turn, and right now the age is 73. So the year, if I turn 73 in 2024,
Yep.
then that means I have to take my required minimum distribution this year.
Correct.
Now,
By December 31st.
technically no, but technically yes, right? So by I have to take it this year. However, if it's my first year, so
Right.
if it's the year that I turn 73, they give me a little bit extra extension. I get to push it out up until April of 2025.
Right.
But
But then you'll be taking 2.
then I'll be then you're right. Then I'll be taking
Right.
2 in the calendar year of 2025. All right. So
Right.
not to get too complicated,
But
what we like to
but
do,
go back to the 70.5 thing. The idea was usually just take it that year, right? Like don't wait as long as you can because you're going to get potentially double whack.
Right, and that's what and for a number of different reasons, right? So the simple rule, if we're going to dumb this down,
Yes, yes.
which actually kind of works for everybody.
feeds well into-
I mean,
yeah.
I speak
Well,
for Tom. Right?
Tom
Yeah.
excluded,
Yeah.
but you know.
I mean, he wants to be the third leg of the
I know,
stool,
I know,
right?
I
You
know,
gotta
but
keep-
he's bringing- he's
Yeah,
bringing-
you
he's
know
bringing
what?
the brain power.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So as a general, I like to do things easy, right?
You,
so
me, that's why we're friends.
right? So the easiest thing, if I know that I have to take my required minimum distribution, we'll talk about kind of exactly what that is. But I have to take money out of this IRA.
Yes, yes.
The IRS says this: you have to take this money out, and it has to be done by and it's all based on that calendar year. Take it out by the 31st.
Yes.
Of December. So
Yeah,
take
make it
that
easy.
out.
Make it
Yep.
easy.
Now, some of you may have already be well ahead of this, and you've already started taking. You've been taking it all along, right?
Yes.
You've been taking it all through the year. So what I'm telling you, right? But there's a number, right? And the number's based on last year's on what your account was worth last year and your age,
Right,
right?
the end of the year, yep.
So there's a number, and every IRA's got this required minimum distribution number. And he says, so let's say your number is $5,000, right? Let's
Yep.
say so.
Pick a number.
Based on your age and what the balance of your account was. This year I had to take out $5,000 in calendar year 2024.
Yep.
So it's October 16th. Well, right now it's October 16th. It'll be October 19th when you guys are listening to this. But October 16th, right now, I have to make sure that if I have to take out at least $5,000.
Correct.
Right? And if I don't take out that $5,000,
Correct.
right, then I have to pay a penalty on the money that I was. So if I take out $1,000 and it's $4,000, if I don't take any money out,
Sure.
I pay a penalty on the money that I was required to take. That's why they call it a required
Right.
minimum
The
distribution.
understanding is that Uncle Sam has let you ride this tax-deferred pony all these years, and they're tired of waiting. They want some money.
Yeah, and that's so
it.
people understand that's the background of it is, remember, all of this money has never been taxed.
Correct.
Right? So and this is how America runs. America runs on you paying, and me and Jay and Tom all paying taxes. That's where America gets their money.
That's true.
Right. So if I have a retirement plan, and I'm my whole working career, I've been putting money in this retirement plan. I'm like, hey, I got this money. I don't tax me on it because I'm putting it in there.
I'm doing what you told me to
That's
do.
right.
I'm
So
doing what you told me to do.
I'm putting it in there.
Yep.
I'm putting it in there. And Uncle Sam's like, yep, that's great. You know what? You just turned the age, and let's say you just turned 73. Guess what?
Yep.
It's time to give some of that
Pay the
back.
piper.
Yep.
That's right. Time
Uncle
to pay
Sam.
the
Yep.
piper.
The bills come in.
That's right. That's right.
So, and that's okay, right? That's okay. It's the
That's
price
fine.
of doing
You
it's
still
the price
get-
of doing
yep,
business,
yep,
right?
yep.
So, for this required minimum distribution, if I don't take it, then I'm going to pay a 50% penalty. And this is that's a big number, right?
Oh,
so think about it.
They make it they incentivize you to make sure you're on top of this.
So in our example, if I'm required to take out $5,000 by year end and I don't take it out, somebody's going to figure this out. There's a guy who's got like a visor on, who's got
green visor.
Yep, and he's got glasses down the end of his nose,
protectors,
and he's like, and he's like, whoa, and probably, and there's a room of them, right? There's a room of guys that are all doing. And one of them's like, whoa, I got one, right? His boss,
got a live one.
His supervisor comes over to check and say, oh yeah, that looks good.
We've been waiting to get him.
And oftentimes the IRS probably doesn't really check too hard. They're like, I got one. Like even if they're like, I don't know if this one. Yeah, put it in. Right. They'll send you. Let them figure it out.
That's right. We'll just call them out. Let them solve it for us. Yep.
So if I'm required to take out $5,000 and I don't take that out by year end, I could be charged a 50% penalty or $2,500. $2,500. Right. And again, coming back to when we talk about taking distributions, that people understand. If I take that $2,500, and remember, when I take this money out of the account, I have to pay taxes on it.
Yes, you do.
Right?
But here's what you don't have to do. You don't have to spend it.
Oh, no.
No, and I say this because this used to happen all the time, and it always amazed me, right? Clients would come in and they'd say, Jay, I got to take my minimum required distribution. I'd say, yeah, that's great. It's $25,000.
What are my legal fees?
It's $25,000. Your legal fees are $24,000. Problem solved. And they would say, but what am I going to do with the money? I don't need it. And I'd say, well, you're only taking it because Uncle Sam's making you take it, right? And they'd say, yeah, that's right. And I would say all the time, I'm saying, you don't have to spend it. You don't have to wander around with $25,000 stuck in your pocket just buying random stuff just to take it, just to do what you think I said, you could just put it in the bank. Ideally, you put it in your other brokerage account, and it goes. And if you took it out of the contra fund in your IRA, you could put it right back in the contra fund, not in your IRA. It's not a big deal. You just got to take the money out.
You got to take the money, and you got to pay the taxes on it.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
And you want, and in our case, or in our example right now, we're saying you want to take the money out on time, like when you're supposed to. So the only thing you have to pay is the taxes, and you don't have to pay the penalty.
That's right.
All right.
So, and you can have the taxes withheld. There's paperwork. They'll ask you to have how much you want to withhold taxes, so that your $5,000 check might be $4,000, but you'll have paid the taxes, and then next year you won't have to say, why do I owe money because I took an MRD and didn't take the money? Just take the taxes, let the paperwork kind of guide the process.
So and again, you may have been, if you're on top of things and you understand, because this is where your finance guy or your advisor, or if it's just you know that, hey, this is the year. And sometimes the custodian, the company itself will kind of let you know, hey, just so you know, this year according to our numbers here, you're turning 73 this year. So that means you're going to have to take a required minimum distribution by they'll let you know. And oftentimes they won't necessarily take it out for you, but they will make sure that they remind you, and in writing they will send you something to say that so they're not on the hook down the road if you don't take money out. And you're like, whoa, no one told me that. Well, yes, we did, and we sent you.
Here's all the mailings we sent you. Yeah.
So most of the time, people are aware of this, and if you're taking money out of your and that's the thing. If this is your and this is part of your retirement, then you may already be taking money out, right?
You may have already done this. This may be covered.
This may be all part of your but again, it's important to understand and it's important to acknowledge it, because let's say you had a sizable IRA, or let's say you have several IRAs.
Oh, beat me to it. Beat me. That's where I was going.
Well, then take it away. Go.
No, go. You're doing a great job.
So if you have several IRAs, so let's say I have 3 IRAs and each of them have $100,000 in it, right? What I can do, let's say I'm only taking out of one because that's the one that's generating my income, right? I have a required minimum distribution collectively for 3 IRAs, each of them at $100,000, so collectively $300,000.
Correct.
Now, here's the question, do I have to take a required minimum distribution from each of those IRAs in their different custodians? I have to take it from each one of those.
So let's use your earlier math. Let's say the RMD from each of those IRAs is $5,000.
collectively
out of your 300. So the question, if I'm hearing you correctly, is do I have to take
you heard me.
$5,000 from each of those $100,000 IRAs? Or I think what you're asking is, can I just take $15,000 out of one of those IRAs and leave the rest of them alone?
Yep.
I believe the answer is B.
The answer the answer is yes. That
Yes.
is B.
Yes.
So I can. So I as long as I meet the requirement of taking a required minimum distribution from my collective assembly
Yeah.
of IRAs, I can take it all from one, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is all kind of part because guess what? You may be drawing one of those down because that's your income.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I've been doing this and that's part of how I've been drawing income, and I say, hey, listen, I take $5,000 a month out of this IRA,
Yeah.
right? And then, you get like letters maybe, or your advisor says, oh, you turned 73, RMD, you got to take your
Yeah,
requirement.
that's a great point. Yeah.
And be like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm taking a lot of money out of this IRA.
Yeah.
Is that going to satisfy the required minimum distribution for all of my other IRAs?
I've met my RMD requirement just from another bucket of money.
There you go.
That's it. Or I'm close. I'm taking out X amount of dollars a month, and you know what? I only need to take out an extra $10,000 because I'm covered. I get everything done. It's perfect. It's all good, and you're done.
And again, it's October 16th.
Well,
So guess what?
But this is a big deal for a couple of reasons. Number one, if it's 3 different accounts, it's 3 different sets of paperwork, right? And and you probably don't have bank information on them, so you might have to get 3 checks if that's what you want, right? And as we get deeper into RMD season, these companies, the Fidelities, the Charles Schwabs of the world, they start to tell us as the advisor, at some point, this is on a best efforts basis, right? If you wait until the last minute, they make no guarantees. So let's just take that right out of the equation.
Yeah, and that's a good point, right? Because if I say, well, listen, I needed to draw this out and you leave this to the nth hour, you could miss it.
That's right.
You could miss it just because it's busy. It's the last week of December, right?
Yep.
It's the week before New Year's. Nothing happens.
No.
It's insane,
No, that's right. Yep, that's
and if it falls on the weekends and things like that.
Well, and here's the other thing. This is not
your
like taking...
advisor probably isn't working very hard.
That's a whole nother thing. But the other thing is, this is not like taking money out of a bank. Here's the other thing. You might have most of your portfolio invested, right? So you call your advisor up and you say, look, I want to take my RMD out. And the advisor says either, all right, well, we got to get some paperwork online because this is your first RMD. We haven't taken one out yet. We got to do some trades because most of your securities have been invested. Most of your portfolio is invested in securities.
Just
right?
Withdrawing Apple stock.
No, it doesn't work that way, right? So so we got to convert something to cash again. It's not that it doesn't happen quickly. But again, this is not walking into Bank of America and saying, "Can I have $5,000?" Right? A machine has to be put into motion here to get this done. It's not just turn on a dime.
And there's a process. And so here's the thing. The other benefit of doing it right now, right? Because guess what? Once your required minimum distribution starts, it doesn't stop.
No, it
doesn't
do not.
stop.
No, it
so
don't.
you
No, it
have
don't.
to do this every single year.
Yep.
Right? So now, guess what? If this is your first year taking it, and maybe this is the first year you're drawing money out of your retirement account, so now your biggest problem in life is you're paying taxes on money that you don't necessarily need.
That's right.
Right?
And it's been sitting tax sheltered for 100 years.
Anyway, so this is your first RMD. Guess what? And maybe you're taking a lump sum, and maybe this is like your first time coming to it. But guess what? You have to take it next year.
Yep.
So there's and normally the way we will take it, the way we'll advise people to take it, and again, depending upon kind of where they're at, but most people will take it as part of their monthly income. So guess what? So hey, listen, if I have a required minimum distribution, let's say this year was $5,000, and again, I'm not going to know the exact one until the end of the year for next year.
Sure.
So I won't know. It's because the exact amount is based on the
You'll have
on
a
the
ballpark
account,
idea, but
I sure will have a
Yep.
ballpark idea. And you know what? So then we can say, hey, listen, now that we're kind of planning and getting you ready for the next year because you're way ahead of the game, how about next year, since your required minimum distribution, let's ballpark it and say it's going to be $6,000, right? So over the course of next year, why don't we take out $350, $400 a month to get us through till the end, or $500 a month to get us to the end of the year, and we do that every month. You'll satisfy your required minimum distribution.
Yep.
And You got extra income.
Well,
Now
you
got
dollar cost average yourself out of the market, take out all the vagaries of the market going up and going down, kind of manage the whole transition a little bit.
But I just gave you a pay raise.
Yes.
And now, because again, when people are retired, and you know this, when people are retired, they just care about their money. They care about their income. It's like, hey, I got this much money coming
Yes.
in,
Yep.
and this is how much I spent, and I got this much in the bank. Do I need to take money out of my other account? Nope, I'm good, and I just drive on.
Well, and this can also drive another conversation. You mentioned it a minute ago, which was, are you taking the RMD because you need it, or are you taking it because Uncle Sam's making you take it?
Right.
And if the answer is, well, we don't really need it, if I didn't have to take it, I probably would leave it in my IRA. So now we can have another conversation. Now we can say, well, what are we going to do with that money, right? Because we could certainly pile it up over here with your other money. That's an option, right? But is there a gifting scenario here? Because it's the end of the year. Because it's the end of the year, right? And what do we tell everybody every single year when they say, what does the check, the question comes up every year, does the check have to be written by 12/31, or does the check have to be cashed by 12/31 when I give a gift? And my answer to that question is, I don't know, because that check should have been written 3 weeks ago, so it doesn't matter.
So what Jay
That's
is
the
alluding
answer.
to right now is what we are going to talk about on our after we take a quick break, because that's the next thing on my checklist.
All right.
That's the next thing on my checklist. He is alluding to, of course, charitable giving,
Love it.
which is, wow, if we're planning this right now, like
Middle of
before
October?
oh my God, we're so ahead of the game. All right, so we're going to talk about it. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back in 1 second and talk about that.
Love it.
Don't go away.
And we're back. My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group. John Drohan, MAME Effort Financial. Tom's here, making us look skinny and handsome on camera. And it's quite an effort. And we're talking about year-end planning.
futile
and you're
effort.
hearing it first. Your year-end planning, right around your Columbus Day year-end planning program, right here. Get it done early. Get it done so that when you sail into the end of the year, you'll have checked all your boxes and you're good to go.
So we talked about the required. There's some big ones, right? There's a whole lot. I made a laundry list.
there's
of
a whole
things.
bunch of them, yeah.
So we just talked about the required minimum distribution. Jay had before we went to the break. Jay was talking about how, well, you know, if it's money that I don't necessarily need, it's not part of my income strategy, but I have to take it, right? I'm taking this required minimum distribution, and I have to pay taxes on it.
Yes, you do.
Right? Then what's my strategy? What am I going to do with this money? And as Jay said, I could save it. I could put it in my bank. I could put it in my investment account. I don't have to, or I could spend it. Another option you could do is the next thing that we talk about on our year-end checklist. And the year-end checklist, of course, number 2 is charitable giving. Because that is a hard stop. Just like RMDs, that is a hard stop at 31 December.
You either make it this year or you don't make it this year.
Exactly. So when no one thinks about it right now. Well, I shouldn't say that. Smart people, organized people think about it right now. When you think about it is when you're doing your taxes next year and your accountant says, okay, well, just what did you do for charity? Just give me all of that paperwork that you've organized and how you've been giving throughout the year. And you pull out an envelope or you're looking for like an email receipt, and
If you start asking your spouse, like, what do you think a bag of clothes is worth?
Yeah.
Right?
Remember we donated those scooters? They're at least
That's right.
$8,000
I had a couple of
each.
old ice skates down in the basement. Then we donated sporting equipment. How much is sporting equipment worth?
Right, because now you're looking down the business end of doing your taxes, and wow, if I've donated money, if I've given away to charity, then of course I can deduct that from my taxable income.
Yes, you can.
So here we are. October 16th, the day after Columbus/Indigenous People Day.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And here we are, and we say, hey, look, we have time before 31 December. So
You might even make a phone call to somebody and ask the questions.
So now it's like, hey, I know I want to do, or I have the means. First thing is I have to, I have the desire and the means to give to charity, to give to those less fortunate than me, or to further a cause that I truly believe in. All great stuff, all great altruistic stuff. However, you do get some kind of selfish benefit in that you get to deduct that from your taxes, that's what God bless the United States of America.
That's why the tax code is designed that way.
There you go. All right, so now I have some time, and I can do some research, and I can think about it, and I can do some planning, and I can also think about it. And then if I'm really shrewd and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I was just talking about my required minimum distribution. I don't necessarily need that money.
Correct.
And I really want to donate some money to charity. How much I want to donate, who knows? But let's use the simple example. So let's say I have the means and I have the cash flow, I have the capability that I want to donate money to charity. And let's say I want to donate, I don't know, $5,000 collectively.
Okay, sure.
And which is that's generosity, right?
Yep.
That, if you give $1,000 to a charity, that's big stuff. So let's say my total is $5,000. Wait a minute. Hang on, right?
Hang on.
My required minimum distribution from that IRA, which I don't need that money. I don't need it to augment my income.
Yeah.
Was $5,000, right? Now I have to take out $5,000 from that IRA.
No matter what. Yep.
And guess what? I got to pay taxes on that $5,000, right?
Yep.
I got to pay taxes, right? So,
and I would much rather be charitably inclined.
But you know what? If I pay taxes on that $5,000 and I get let's say I don't withhold any taxes from that, right?
Yep.
Guess what? If I give away $5,000 to charity, it's a wash.
Yeah.
So therefore, because of my ability to do charitable giving, because I've planned it and I can do it, my RMD, and I'm saying that everybody does this.
No.
But one potential thing is that you could use some or all of your required minimum distribution money to donate to charity, and then there's your tax offset.
There you go.
And so you've now donated to charity, and you've essentially done it tax free.
Well, and the idea to kind of how we started this segment was you were going to do it anyway. Right?
You would plan to do it anyway, right?
So now we say, well, there's a couple of ways we can do this. And how about if we can do it in a way that saves you taxes? And everybody goes, well, who doesn't love that, right? That's a great idea. Now, I don't know the answer to this question off the top of my head, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
The answer is absolutely you can.
Could you shovel that money out of your RMD right into your donor advised fund?
Could I directly move it from the RMD? I think it might depend on the custodian, but I think there's a way to do it.
And so I'd still get so for those of you who are unfamiliar with the world of the donor advised fund, it's kind of like a 401k for charitable giving, right?
Right.
You could put money into it. The minute you make a contribution to a donor advised fund, you get a charitable deduction. So the scenario is, to John's point, it's the end of the year. I do want to be charitably inclined, but I haven't really dialed in on what charities I want to give to because I have so many options and I just haven't figured it out. But I want to get the charitable deduction. So what you'll do is you'll put money into a donor advised fund. The contribution to the donor advised fund is a charitable contribution. The donor advised fund is set up as a 501c3. You've made the contribution and then you get to pick where the money goes. So the money can go into a donor advised fund and then it can get invested. And then the money can grow if the market cooperates. And so your $5,000 contribution to a donor advised fund can grow at whatever pace the market's growing at, however you decide to invest it, so that you'd have more money to give away later on down the road.
So, and the beauty of that is that I'm not necessarily, I don't have to make that decision right now.
There's no paralysis by analysis because I can't decide if I want to give to the MSPCA or Boy Scouts or something like that. I just want to get at this stage of the game, I want to just get the charitable contribution done because John told me I got to have it done by Thanksgiving. So I want to just get it set up, funded. I want to get the money in there. I want to move the RMD over there, avoid the tax hit, fund my my donor advised fund, and I'll figure out where it's going after Christmas or even during Christmas.
And that's the thing, and that's the beauty of it, right? Is if I'm looking at this now, right?
Yep.
If I'm thinking about this now, then because again, we don't think about like giving money to charity, or many of us don't think about it until like the nth hour,
Yep.
right? And then it's like, well, wait a minute, I heard on the radio they have this donor advised. I would love to open one of those, but that's going to take time. There's there's paperwork, there's things that have to happen, and then there's the actual funding of it. You have to connect it to the bank. So anytime you set up an account in an investment account, there's always administrative time lag in that, right? And that's just the way it is, right? So, but if I'm thinking about this now, and I'm thinking about charitable giving. Now I can start thinking about, wow, there's other charities out there. I could, like Jay said, I can do my research. Or if I'm really organized, I'm saying, you know what? I'm thinking about this now, and I think I'm going to be able to donate up to. I know right now I can afford $5,000. So guess what? I'm going to open up this donor advised fund right now, and I'm going to put $5,000 in. So now I'm I've donated to charity. I've donated,
accomplished my goal.
Yeah, I've accomplished my goal, and I don't and it's in this fund, and I can give it to whomever whenever I want to do it.
That's right.
So that's the neat part about it is now I can say, because now I maybe, you know what, if I got all my other administrative stuff done at Christmas time, guess what? Now I'm like, it's the Christmas holiday season. It's the season of giving. I mean, I can sit there and I can do this on my phone or online. I'm like, you know what? I feel like sending some money to the ASPCA. I feel like sending some money to, the Holliston Community Action Fund.
How about this? I feel like sending some money to the Holliston Community Action Fund, or I feel like sending some money to the MSPCA. And guess what? Last year I put in 5, and the market did really well. So I have more to give away. So I can give away 500 over here that I didn't even have last year. So all of a sudden, your ability to be charitable is going north.
You're a better charity guy.
You get more to give away. And you can, by the way, for the donor advised thing, you can name these things anything you want.
Yep.
So, if you fancy yourself among the hoi polloi, you can name it the, Your Family Fund Foundation or whatever you want to call it. And that's how the checks go out. They get sent to all charities. And, I don't know, maybe that gets you on a couple of lists. I don't know, but it makes you pretty popular.
You may get some tickets. You may get may get an Aperol Spritz.
Yeah.
Right? Brought to your table. This is courtesy of the foundation over there.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah, that's right. So you get that. So, but it makes this aspect of your planning super, super easy.
So that's fun, right? The donor advised fund is great. Some people they just may not have the wherewithal to do it, but they may just don't want to do it, or they're like it's another thing. It's maybe complicated.
That's right. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. Then write the checks, but just get them written early.
But here we are, right? Here we are in the middle of October. So now I can think about it, right? And I can do it, and I can budget for it, and I can say, all right, and I can look and I can say, what is this Holliston Community Action Fund, or what is the Harmon Foundation? These things that I want to give money to, and I can do some research, and I can make a difference.
Yes, you can.
And
Absolutely right.
And I can feel good about it, as opposed to just doing it like kind of knee jerk. I gave to the whatever, and
you're writing checks for the sake of writing checks because it's
because I'm going to get to deduct it.
That's right. And to your point in the beginning, this is something that you want to do, right? You have to be charitably inclined to do this. This is the idea of being intentional about your giving in this way.
So I love the idea, and if it works out that I'm in like an RMD situation, I can get a tax tax wash on it, all the better. If not, it doesn't matter. Remember any money that I donate to a qualified charity, I get to deduct that from my taxes. So that's the kicker that I get. All right. So let's take a quick break and we'll come back and wrap this up.
Oh, love it.
All right.
Fantastic.
We'll be right back, and give us 1 second. You don't go anywhere. We're going to wrap this up and talk about the one more year-end thing that I want you to do.
Right, grab some more paper.
Yeah.
We'll be good. And we're back. My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group. John Drohan, Man After Financial. Tom's on the bag. And we are talking about year-end planning. That's right. You heard it. Year-end planning. Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, to get you ahead of the curve so that you sail into December, peace of mind, calm, cool, collected. Everything's done. Everything's been organized.
That sounds good.
Hit the ground.
Well, I mean, right?
Yep.
That is right. This is like smooth, easy.
This is
right?
like easy jazz. Smooth jazz right here.
This is like after 10 p.m. This is the overnight.
David Allen Boucher right there, right? Middle of little midnight magic
We're
there.
in the
Whatever
overnight,
they're talking about it. Yep.
This is Delilah's. That's
right. That's right. That's right. Yep. That's right.
So we talked about required minimum distribution. We talked about charitable giving. This is like that 31 December hard stop. All right. The other one that I wanted to bring up is donating is investing into a retirement account, right?
Sure.
Investing into an IRA. So if I want to, and IRAs, if I'm actively investing into an IRA, then which is an individual retirement account, that's not an employer-sponsored plan, I have up until I file my taxes. So I do have that. It's not that 31 December hard stop. However, as we had said earlier in the show, it's nice if I'm making it simple and I use that 31 December as my hard stop. Then once I get into the new year, that's the new year.
There you go. Like some people like that hard stop. It's like it ends the year cleanly.
Right. So, and it's nice because if I haven't been doing it, and oftentimes we'll set it up if somebody wants to, and everybody talks about, I want to max out my IRA. I want
Sure.
to max out. So if we've set it up where you're actually putting in $7,000 or $7,500 into your IRA to make sure that by December 31st, by the year end,
Yeah.
you've maxed out, then you're good to go. Some people don't. Some people don't have, or they'll wait till the end of the year to see if they have the money to be able to put it in, right?
Yep.
To see if so that the individual retirement is pretty easy to do. We like to say, look at it now, see how much then it's not rocket science. See how
Right.
much you put in, and see how much is it going to take for you to put the end of the year. If you have the money to do it, and you're in a position where you can do it, then we highly advise you to invest into your IRA.
Sure, yeah.
Save money for retirement. When in doubt, save. That's kind of how we do it.
Rather
Now,
have it than not.
now here's where it gets a little tricky.
Okay.
Or not tricky, but here's where it gets a little interesting. Most people, many people, have what's known as an employer-sponsored plan.
Yes,
So
I
you
do.
have, and oftentimes that's labeled a 401k or a 403b. So whenever we talk to our clients, whenever you talk to your clients, we say, how much you invest in a retirement? Because in the perfect world, we would love for you to be able to max out your 401k.
Yes.
We would love
Yes.
for you to be able to put the maximum amount allowable for your age for that year into your employer-sponsored plan. Now, the way employer-sponsored plans work is that it's a salary. It comes out of your pay, right? It's a direct, comes right out of your salary and goes into the plan. Now it's October, right? And let's say I'm looking at my 401k and I've only put in $10,000 into my 401k, and based on that pace, I'm only going to put in 12 by year end.
Sure.
However, I'm like, hey, I would love, because once that money goes into that 401k, I don't pay taxes on it, right?
Correct, yeah.
It lowers my taxable income. I'm saving more money for retirement, and there's a limit. There's a limit to how much money I can put into a 401k. I can only put away up to $23,000 if I'm under the age of 50 into a 401k.
Sure.
So, and if I have the wherewithal to meet that limit, awesome. Like
Right.
that's
if you're going to meet that limit all by yourself, like on autopilot, on the way you've set it up, fantastic.
Yeah, but we're talking about somebody
Yeah.
who hasn't, or you just haven't been able to do it. So one of the things that we've talked about, and this is where you kind of have to work with your company, and you have to work possibly with your HR department. Let's say you're doing great. Let's say you got a bunch of money in the bank.
Sure.
But you haven't maxed out your 401k. What you can do right now, right? And,
Yep.
and you're kind of on the clock on this because you probably have about 30 days to be able to do this, depending upon what your pay periods are and
Sure,
things like
sure.
that. But what you can do is you can say, look, if I need, let's say I need to put I have $10,000 I can put into my 401k, but it's got to go in by 31 December.
Yeah.
That's
That will
the
get
hard
me to the
stop.
max number.
And the only way it goes in is via my pay, right?
Yep.
So, and normally right now it's like I get paid, and let's say I get paid $4,000, or like say $4,000 every 2 weeks, and then $1,000 of that comes out and goes into my 401k. What I can do,
Yes.
what you can do is you can say, okay, call your if I want to max out my 401k and I have money in the bank, right?
Yep,
To augment my income, and say, all right, I'm going to spend my money in the bank to pay my bills for the
Yep.
next 2 months.
Yep.
And I'm going to put all of my paycheck into my 401k.
Right.
So I call the HR department. I say, this is what I want to do. I want to max out my 401k by year end. They, punch in. They say that means you're going to have to put in, your next 4 paychecks are going to have to go into the 401k.
100% committed to your 401k.
And you're not, and nothing else is, so you're not going to get one red cent from your pay. You're like, that's okay, because I got money in the bank and I know what I'm
Correct.
doing.
Yep.
And we've done this before, and you have to understand it. You have to have a good concept or understanding that my bank account is not going to have any money in it because
Right.
I
Yeah.
have to draw from somewhere
Zero
else.
W-2 income. It's all going to my 401k.
But it enables me to max out my 401k. And the cool thing about these 401k plans is that they won't let you put in too much.
Right.
Right? So let's say you've set up and say, I'm going to put my next 4 paychecks in, and maybe you get a bonus, or maybe your pay fluctuates because of commissions or whatever. Don't worry. They're not going to enable you. It's not going to allow you to put in more than the $23,000
Right.
if that's what your number is. So you don't have to worry about that. But but if you're able to do this, and right now you've figured out that you can, do it. Like if you have the wherewithal to do it, you won't regret it.
Yeah, but you're going to move fast. You're going to be
That's
nimble
what,
about this.
You have to do it now. You can't do this next month.
No,
you can't
no.
do this in November. This is like if you're interested in this, get on moneyinthelaw.net. We'll coach you up on this.
Right.
But if you want to do it, this is the time to do it now.
But you can't just take the money out of you can't say that money that you have saved. You can't go to your 401k people and say, hey, I'm going to just give you the check.
Can't do it.
And then you're going to, it has to go through your payroll deduction.
That's the quirky part about the 401k is that it always has to come through because it's an employer-sponsored plan.
Yeah.
So my employer essentially, and this is independent if your employer matches or not or
Right.
anything like. This is for you to have the ability to put as much money as the IRS will allow you into your 401k for that calendar year. Because
But this goes back to tying this into other things that might be going on. So, for example, if your parents are going to be gifting you money at the end of the year, and you want to get that done, and you know that's going to happen, this could be part of that conversation, which is, look, I know you guys are going to be gifting us because you do it every year. If you could gift me now, because those guys on the radio told me you should get this out of the way now and get in front of it and make
TV.
things easier,
TV as well.
right? Yeah,
The
on
guy on
TV
TV
and the
too.
radio. Those guys said to do it. That would actually hook me up because then I can start dumping more money into my 401k plan because I'm going to spend your gift money to pay my bills for the next 2 months, and that's going to allow me to have a better retirement, and you're contributing to that.
yeah.
You
You don't say I'm going to spend your gift money to buy your Christmas present.
No, don't tell them that. Tell them you already bought the gift.
Even though, right.
I've
I
purchased
bought it
the
this
gift
summer.
already. I purchased the gift already. You're getting the gift regardless, and so am I.
So it's a shrewd little financial move that
Yes.
if you're able to do it, then you, like I said, you won't regret
and it will pay off monster dividends in the future.
Okay, RMDs, charitable distribution, maxing out your retirement accounts.
Load
Those are the
load
three
that up,
things you
top
can
that
do.
off.
All right, we got to run. Someone's got a call.
I got a meeting. I got to go see a guy. Meet
All
a
right,
guy about a
we'll
horse.
see everybody next week on Money in the Law. Thanks for joining us, Tommy. We'll see you next time. Jay, we'll see you next time. Everybody, make sure you have a great weekend.
Enjoy.
And continue to enjoy the fall and get your stuff done.
All right, we'll
I
talk
said
next week.
stuff. I was going
Get
to
your
say,
stuff.
yeah, I said
All right,
stuff.
we'll talk
All right,
next week.
We'll see you next
See
time.
you guys.